Hello, my wonderful and beautiful friends. Welcome to a long Reddit drama video that I bet will have you laughing and feeling so satisfied. This is where people truly believe that entitled folks can do no wrong and that they are the center of the universe. And trust me, this episode is going to be hilarious. We've got Karens embarrassing themselves thinking they're above the law, an ungrateful brother complaining about $100,000, an aunt threatening to call the cops over a parking spot, and all the juicy drama from shopping carts, weddings, and outrageous customers that will leave you speechless. Are you ready? Grab a cup of tea, or a whole pot if you need it. I hope you enjoy these stories, just try not to shake your head too hard. And as always, you can send or link your own posts to this email right here. Now, let's get started. First up, we have an entitled people drama where OP faces pure ungratefulness from his own younger brother, despite paying him a generous salary. OP is a self-made entrepreneur, the kind who built a company from the ground up, starting in a tiny office with a cluttered wooden desk, the faint smell of roasted coffee in the corner, phones ringing, keyboards clicking, and the pressured hustle of a busy workday. OP writes, "I paid my brother $100,000 a year to work for me, but he was lazy and ungrateful, so I handled it, and the ending was pure karma." The drama's main character is Brother B, OP's younger sibling, whom OP describes as about 28, disheveled hair like he just rolled out of bed, wearing a wrinkled gray t-shirt, speaking in a grumpy tone as if he hadn't had coffee yet, and acting like everything is owed to him. OP shares, "I hired B out of family loyalty, but he drove me insane, so I gave him a little push, and he sank on his own. OP just wanted his company to thrive, but B's entitlement led to an absolutely satisfying drama that had me both laughing and clapping." This is a story about family, money, and a hilarious twist. Are you ready? Buckle up, because B is about to embarrass himself, and OP is about to serve some sweet justice for the next 30+ minutes. The chaos starts on a Monday morning when the company is in a rush to meet a deadline. OP writes, "I was at my desk, a worn wooden table covered in coffee stains, next to my laptop and a pile of reports, going over numbers when B strolled in 3 hours late. He stood at the doorway, hands in his pockets, eyes half closed, and muttered, 'Why is there so much work today?' I replied, 'B, you're late. Get started.' B grumbled, 'You're paying me $100,000 just to do this useless stuff? Hire someone else.' At that moment, I sat there, listening to him complain, and thought, oh, you want it this way? Fine. Let's do it your way." OP admits he wanted to scream, "B, you're making $100,000 and still complaining?" And then, the trolling begins. OP decides to teach B a lesson. I smiled and said, "Oh? You don't like small tasks? Fine, here's a big one." I handed B a thick stack of urgent reports, analyzing rush orders, and said, "Finish this before noon, or consider yourself done here." B turned red. "Why so much? I'm not doing this." I shrugged, "Then leave. I'm not paying $100,000 to someone who refuses to work." B exploded, "Without me, this company will fail." That's when my assistant, H, around 33, calm voice, stepped in. "The company will run just fine. If you want to quit, go ahead." B just stood there, fuming, while my warehouse manager, Q, whispered, "This guy is unbelievable." And I was enjoying the show, watching B flounder in front of the entire office. OP escalates the situation. B slammed the stack of documents onto my desk and shouted, "I quit. You'll regret this." I laughed, "All right, goodbye. I already paid your salary this month." B screamed, "Without me, you'll lose clients." I turned to H, find a replacement, offer $60,000 instead. B spun around, "You're replacing me?" "I'm telling Mom and Dad." I smirked, "Go ahead. They already know you're lazy." At that moment, my business partner, T, around 50, walked in and asked, "What's all the yelling about?" B pointed at me, "He fired me." I said, "No, you quit. I was paying you $100,000, and you still complained." B froze. His hands trembled. and I thought, oh, you wanted to quit? Own it. Meanwhile, I was dying of laughter because B just embarrassed himself in front of my biggest business partner. T chuckled, $100K and you're still lazy? Yeah, quitting was the right choice. B yelled, I'm worth more. I shrugged, then go find a better paying job. B stormed out, knocking over a chair, screaming, this company is done without me. H called after him, you forgot your bag. B turned back, face red, grabbed his bag, and left. And I just stood there, watching him self-destruct, thinking, ungrateful. Now deal with it. Q laughed, that guy just screwed himself over. And oh, I was beyond satisfied, watching B humiliate himself in front of the entire company. Asterisk after B left, I hired someone new for $60,000, and guess what? Work got done faster. A few days later, Mom called, why did you fire B? I chuckled, he quit. I was paying him $100,000, and he was lazy. Mom sighed, oh well, let him deal with it. Asterisk. Then, a few months later, B came crawling back, asking for his job back. OP writes, asterisk I winked at H and said, thanks to last time, huh? H grinned, he's really out of options. And I thought, B, you just lost to an entire company. The Reddit comments were wild. Team OP, B got what he deserved, $100K and still lazy? OP handled it like a champ. Team B, but he's your brother. Maybe OP was too harsh. Trolls, OP should have paid him $200,000 just to troll him again. I was laughing so hard while reading, but my stance? B was lazy, OP played it perfectly. Here's a wild theory for you. Was B entitled because he was the younger brother? Did he think, my brother is rich, I don't have to work hard? Or was he just overconfident, believing he was irreplaceable? Did he run to Mom hoping she'd pressure OP, only to be ignored? Either way, OP turned ungratefulness into an absolute masterpiece, teaching B a brutal lesson while making it hilarious. But now I wonder, if OP had paid him less, would B have worked harder? And if T hadn't walked in, would the drama have escalated even more? Oh, and one last update from OP. A few months later, B begged for his job back. OP refused. And honestly, that's poetic justice. Now tell me, was OP a genius, or was B just pathetic? Have you ever met someone this ungrateful? Let me know in the comments, I'm so curious. That was one epic entitled People story, and I'm still laughing. A younger brother, given $100,000, ends up ruining himself out of pure laziness, only to come crawling back. Who do you side with, OP or B? And do you have any family drama stories to share? Drop them in the comments, I'd love to hear them. Next, we have a drama from our entitled People, where OP has to deal with a ridiculously entitled woman in a supermarket parking lot. OP is just an average person, the kind who drives a dusty silver blue hatchback, with shopping bags scattered across the back seat, the faint smell of gasoline from the engine, pop music playing on the radio mixed with the sound of wind rushing through the windows, and the tension of parking in a crowded lot. OP writes, a woman demanded that I call the police because I was parked in a handicapped spot. I handled it, and the ending left her humiliated. The star of this drama is Ms. K, an arrogant woman whom OP describes as around 50, with golden-dyed curly hair, a bright red coat, a voice as shrill as a car horn, and an attitude like she's the sheriff of the parking lot. OP continues, Ms. K threw a fit because I parked in a handicapped spot, but I had a permit. I trolled her a little, and she walked right into it. OP just wanted to shop in peace, but Ms. K's entitlement paved the way for a glorious drama that had me laughing and clapping. This is a story about parking, entitlement, and a hilarious twist. Are you ready? Buckle up, because Ms. K is about to make a complete fool of herself, and OP will have you grinning for the next 40 minutes. The drama began on a Saturday afternoon when the supermarket was packed with weekend shoppers. OP writes, asterisk I pulled into the parking lot, scratched up blue hatchback, old school song playing on the radio, and found an open handicapped spot. I hung my permit on the mirror, stepped out, and immediately, Ms. K stormed over, hands on her hips. "You can't park here. Call the police right now." I turned to her. I have a permit. You can check." Ms. K screeched, "I don't care. This spot is mine." Asterisk. OP adds. I stood there, listening to her rant, thinking, all right, you want the police? You got it. I just wanted to yell, "Ms. K, the permit is right here, what more do you want?" The drama escalated when OP played along, and Ms. K set herself up for disaster. OP writes, asterisk. I smiled and said, "Sure, if you want the police, go ahead and call them, I have a permit." Ms. K turned red and pointed at me, "You're faking. I saw you walk just fine." I shrugged, not all disabilities are visible. "Here's the permit." Ms. K shrieked, "Call the police now. I won't talk to you." That's when Mr. T, a passerby in his 40s, stepped in. "What's all the yelling about?" Ms. K immediately turned to him. "He stole my spot." I replied, "This is a public space, and I have a permit." Asterisk. OP continues, Ms. K kept screaming while I just stood there, thinking, oh, you want the police? Let's see how this plays out. I, for one, was absolutely thrilled. OP, you let her dig her own grave in the middle of the parking lot. OP took the drama up a notch when Ms. K doubled down on her tantrum. OP writes, asterisk. Ms. K grabbed her phone. "Hello? Police? There's a guy illegally parked." I stood there, arms crossed. "Sure, call them, I'll wait." The police arrived, a uniformed officer, about 35, and asked, "What's going on here?" Ms. K pointed at me. "He's parked illegally. Ticket him." I handed over my permit. "I have a permit, officer. You can check." The officer examined it, turned to Ms. K, and said, "He's fine. You're the one causing a disturbance, please move along." Ms. K shrieked, "I don't believe you. Check again." Asterisk. OP adds, Ms. K froze, her hands shaking, while I thought, you wanted the cops? Now deal with it. I was in tears laughing. OP, you just made Ms. K shoot herself in the foot right in front of the police. Things got even better when Ms. K humiliated herself further. OP writes, asterisk. The officer shrugged, "You're wasting my time, move along." Ms. K screamed, "You're siding with him. I'll sue." I grinned, "Sure, go ahead." The parking lot cameras caught everything. Then, out of nowhere, Ms. K ran to my car and started banging on the door. "Open up. Let me check inside." Mr. T called over the supermarket security. "She's attacking his car." Ms. K turned to him. "I'm right. He's wrong." Then she tried to storm off, only to drop her handbag, sending her stuff flying everywhere. Asterisk. OP adds, asterisk. I just stood there, watching her meltdown, thinking, you wanted the cops? You got them. The officer chuckled, "She's lost it." Asterisk. I was absolutely delighted. OP, you just made Ms. K humiliate herself in front of the whole supermarket. The drama hit its peak when Ms. K finally gave up, and OP enjoyed the victory. OP writes, asterisk. Ms. K picked up her things, glared at me, and stomped off. The officer told me, next time, just let them call first. I laughed, I was just here to buy some milk. Later, I told my friend, and they said, dude, you trolled her with that permit, legendary. Asterisk. OP adds, ever since then, I always make sure my permit is clearly visible. And I cheered, OP, you turned entitlement into an artful troll. What do you think, was OP's handling of the situation hilarious or what? OP wraps it up, after that, Ms. K became a cautionary tale about not causing a scene in the parking lot. As for me, I was just happy I kept my spot. The comments on Reddit exploded like fireworks, way more crowded than the supermarket on a Saturday. Team OP cheered, Ms. K got what she deserved. OP handled that perfectly. Someone added, if I were OP, I would have let her call even more cops. Team Ms. K argued, maybe she was just mistaken, OP could have explained it nicely. And someone joked, next time, OP should park far away and troll again. I laughed so hard reading it but ultimately sided with OP. Ms. K, the permit was right there, you did this to yourself. I have a longer theory for you to think about. Could it be that Ms. K wasn't just entitled but also obsessed with power? Maybe she thought, I'm a customer, so this spot is mine. But she didn't expect OP to have a permit, and the cops flipped the script on her. Or maybe Ms. K just couldn't stand the idea of anyone else parking there, so she went on a power trip? I even suspect she banged on OP's car to save face, not realizing the cameras and security would catch her. Either way, OP played this masterfully, not only keeping their spot but turning Ms. K's arrogance into an unforgettable comedy moment. But I do wonder, what if OP didn't have a permit? Would Ms. K have one? And if Mr. T hadn't called security, would the drama have dragged on longer? Oh, and here's an extra update from OP that had me howling. A few weeks later, Ms. K parked near OP again, but this time, at a distance. OP wrote, I winked at Mr. T, thanks to last time. Mr. T laughed, she learned her lesson. And I thought, Ms. K, you lost the entire parking lot. So that was OP's Entitled People saga, a story that left me both satisfied and laughing. A woman called the police over a parking spot, only to humiliate herself because OP played it flawlessly. Who could have seen that coming? Are you on OP's side or Ms. K's? Have any wild parking lot stories to share? Drop them in the comments, I'm dying to hear them. Next up, we dive into an Entitled People drama where the OP, original poster, faces an outrageously entitled employee at a major supermarket. OP is someone who needs mobility assistance, specifically, the type who uses a store-provided mobility scooter. You know the ones, hard plastic seats, rattling wheels echoing on the tile floor, the faint scent of groceries from nearby shelves, and the hustle and bustle of shoppers mixed with loudspeaker announcements. OP writes, a store employee tried to kick me off a mobility scooter even though I needed it, I handled it, and the ending left her humiliated. The antagonist of this drama is Miss E, an arrogant employee whom OP describes as around 25, with a high ponytail, wearing the store's blue uniform, speaking in a curt, bossy tone, and acting as if she owned every scooter. OP recounts. Miss E demanded I get off the scooter even though I needed it. I decided to troll her a bit, and she sank herself. OP just wanted to shop in peace, but Missy's entitlement paved the way for a delicious drama that had me both laughing and applauding. This is a story about a supermarket, a mobility scooter, and an unexpectedly hilarious twist. Are you ready? Brace yourself, because Missy is about to make a complete fool of herself, and OP will leave you cheering for the next 40 minutes. The drama kicks off on a Wednesday afternoon, with the supermarket moderately busy with customers strolling through the aisles. OP narrates. I was sitting on the scooter, this old, creaky plastic thing with scratched-up handles, reaching for some milk when Missy stormed over, hands on hips, get off that scooter, you don't need it. I turned to her, I do. My legs are weak. Missy frowned, you don't look weak. Get off. OP continues. I sat there, listening to her ridiculous demands, thinking, oh, you want to kick me off? Let's see how this plays out. Honestly, I wanted to scream, Missy, where are your eyes? The drama escalates when OP subtly trolls Missy, who ends up digging her own grave. OP recounts. I smiled and said, just because you don't see it doesn't mean I don't need it. Feel free to check. Missy turned red, you're faking. This scooter is for others. I shrugged, well, I'm using it now. If you have a problem, call the manager. Missy snapped, I don't need a manager. I told you to get off. At this point, another customer, Mr. T, a man around 45, intervenes. She's on the scooter, so she must need it. Leave her alone. Missy whirls on him. This isn't your business, stay out of it. OP doubles down. If you're going to force me off, then call the manager. OP writes. Missy stood there, yelling, and I just laughed, thinking, oh, you want to remove me? Let's see you try. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting back like, OP, you've got Missy flailing in public. OP pushes the drama further when Missy makes a huge mistake. OP narrates. Missy grabbed the scooter's handles. Get off, I'm taking this scooter. I held tight. What are you doing? Call the manager. Missy shouted into her walkie-talkie, Manager, we have a customer misusing a scooter. Enter Manager Q, a 35-year-old in a blue dress shirt. He rushes over. What's going on here? Missy jabs a finger at OP. She's faking. She doesn't need the scooter. OP smirks. I do need it. Check my medical documentation if you'd like. Manager Q asks. Do you have any proof? OP hands over a disabled permit. Here. OP writes. Missy froze, hands trembling. And I thought, you made a scene? Now deal with it. Meanwhile, I'm cracking up inside. OP, you just made Miss E shoot herself in the foot in front of her boss. The drama reaches its peak as Missy faces the consequences of her entitlement. OP recounts. Manager Q examined my permit, then turned to Miss E, you're in the wrong. Apologize to the customer. Missy shouted, I'm not wrong. She's not weak. Manager Q sighed, the permit is valid. If you keep causing trouble, you're suspended. Missy slammed her hand on the shelf, knocking over a milk carton. This store is awful. Then, she stormed off, only to crash into another shopping cart with a loud thud. OP writes. I sat there, watching her flounce off, thinking, you tried to remove me? Now deal with the embarrassment. Mr. T laughed. Well, she's not so tough now, is she? And I'm here thinking, OP, you made Miss E humiliate herself in the middle of the aisle. The final blow comes as Miss E leaves and OP enjoys their victory. OP shares. Manager Q apologized. Next time, just call me immediately. I laughed. I just wanted to buy milk. Later, I told a friend, and they said, you trolled that employee with your permit, absolute genius. OP writes. Now, every time I use the store's scooter, I keep my permit ready. And I'm sitting here, clapping. OP, you turned entitlement into an art form. What do you think? Was OP's response hilarious? OP concludes. After this, Missy became a walking lesson in don't assume things, and I just enjoyed peaceful shopping. Reddit exploded with reactions, busier than the supermarket during rush hour. Team OP. Missy got what she deserved. OP handled this perfectly. One person added. If I were OP, I'd let her pull the scooter just to watch her fail. Team Miss E. She made a mistake, but OP could have explained instead of trolling. Someone joked. Next time, OP should run over her foot, ultimate troll move. I was cracking up reading the responses, but I firmly side with OP. Miss E, if you don't know, don't assume. OP played this like a pro. I have a longer theory for you all. Could it be that Missy wasn't just entitled, but also power tripping? Like, did she think, I'm an employee, I make the rules? But then OP's permit backfired on her? Or maybe she was overconfident, thinking, if I don't see weakness, it doesn't exist. And that's why she escalated things. I also suspect she tried to grab the scooter just to save face but ended up humiliating herself instead. Either way, OP absolutely nailed it, not just keeping their scooter but turning Missy's arrogance into a legendary joke. But now I wonder, if OP didn't have the permit, would Missy have one? And if Mr. T hadn't spoken up, would the drama have dragged on? One last hilarious update from OP. A few weeks later, Missy avoided eye contact whenever she saw me on a scooter. I winked at Mr. T, thanks to last time. He laughed, she won't try that again. And I'm just thinking, Missy, you lost to the whole supermarket. OP, you didn't just win, you taught her a lesson. What do you think? Is OP a genius or is Missy just pitiful? Have you ever encountered an entitled employee like this? That's OP's Entitled People story, one that left me both satisfied and laughing. An employee tried to kick a customer off a mobility scooter, only to get humiliated in the end. Talk about a backfire. Are you Team OP or Team Miss E? Got any supermarket drama to share? Drop a comment, I'm curious. Next up, we have a classic entitled people drama where OP, original poster, had to deal with an incredibly entitled aunt on their wedding day. OP, the bride, was preparing for her big day, a beautiful outdoor wedding setting with wooden tables draped in white linens, the scent of fresh flowers in the air, soft violin music blending with the laughter of guests, and a mix of excitement and happiness filling the atmosphere. OP writes, "My aunt tried to ruin my wedding because she wasn't getting enough attention. I handled it, and in the end, she embarrassed herself." The main character of this drama? Aunt N, a proud and over-the-top woman whom OP describes as about 55 years old, big red curls, wearing an outrageously sparkly sequin dress, a loud market-style voice, and an attitude like she was the star of the show. OP continues, "Aunt N threw a tantrum because she wasn't getting special treatment. I trolled her a bit, and she walked right into her own mess. OP simply wanted a perfect wedding, but Aunt N's entitlement set the stage for a sweet, satisfying drama that had me laughing and clapping. This is a wedding, a family saga, and an unexpected hilarious twist all rolled into one. Are you ready? Buckle up, because Aunt N is about to make a fool of herself, and OP will make sure you enjoy every second of it for the next 40 minutes. The chaos kicked off right before the ceremony, as guests gathered in the warm evening sunlight. OP recounts, "I was standing near the reception table, wooden table, white linen, a vase of red roses, checking the guest list when Aunt N walked up, wine glass in hand. Why am I not at the main table? I turned to her, oh, the main table is for the parents. You're seated at the family table. Aunt N frowned, I'm the bride's aunt. I should be a priority." OP writes, "As I stood there listening to her demand special treatment, I thought, all right, you want attention? Let's give you some." At this point, I wanted to scream, "Aunt N, this is not your wedding." Things escalated when OP subtly trolled Aunt N, causing her to dig her own grave. I smiled, "Oh, if you want to stand out, feel free to handle it yourself, I'm busy." Aunt N's face turned red. "What kind of rude bride are you? I'll give a speech first." I shrugged, "Sure, speeches go through the MC. No one's stopping you." And just like that, Aunt N stormed onto the stage, grabbed the mic from the MC, about 30 years old, and shouted, "Everyone! I am the bride's aunt, and I deserve recognition." MCT quickly interjected, let's let the bride and groom go first." Aunt N screamed, "I talk first. They should be thanking me." OP recalls, "As I stood there watching her shout, I was trying not to laugh. I thought, you wanted to steal the show? Go ahead, let's see what happens." And honestly, OP let her walk right into the disaster she created. Things got even wilder when Aunt N made a scene and humiliated herself. Aunt N held onto the mic and started ranting, "I raised this girl. Without me, she wouldn't be here today." I stepped up and cut her off. Excuse me, Aunt N, when did you ever raise me?" MCT, please continue." By now, guests were whispering. OP's groom, Q, about 28, leaned over and muttered, "Let me handle this." Q grinned into the mic and announced loudly, "Aunt N, thank you. Now please, enjoy some wine at your table." Aunt N screamed, "I'm not finished. This wedding needs me." Then, OP's uncle, H, about 60, stood up and shut her down. "N, that's enough. Sit down." OP writes, Aunt N froze, her hands shaking. "I thought, you wanted drama? Now deal with the consequences." At this point, I was laughing so hard, OP let Aunt N sabotage herself in front of the entire wedding. As the drama hit its peak, Aunt N sealed her own fate. She slammed the mic on the table, knocking over a glass of wine, spilling it all over her sequin dress. "This wedding is awful. I'm leaving," she shrieked. I smiled, "Oh, take care, watch your step." Aunt N stormed off, almost tripping on the stairs, while guests clapped and laughed. MCT reclaimed the mic. Sorry about that. Let's continue. Aunt N turned back, shouting one last time, "You'll all regret this." Then she stormed out, and crashed straight into the wedding car. Asterisk. OP writes. I stood there, watching her self-inflicted meltdown, thinking, tried to ruin my wedding? Enjoy the consequences. Q laughed, she's out of power now. Honestly? Aunt N played herself. Once Aunt N left, the wedding carried on, drama-free. Asterisk Uncle H apologized, she always overdoes it. Just ignore her. I laughed, I just wanted to get married. Later, friends recounted the incident, cracking up over it. I told my husband about it later, and he said, "You trolled her in front of an entire audience, absolute genius." Now, whenever we invite people over, they joke, "No wedding sabotage allowed." Asterisk. OP wraps it up with. At the end of the day, Aunt N became the ultimate lesson on why you don't mess with a bride's wedding. And I got to enjoy my perfect day. Reddit exploded with comments, even more than OP's wedding guests. Team OP. Aunt N got what she deserved. OP handled it perfectly. Someone added, if I were OP, I would have let her rant longer before kicking her out. Team Aunt N. Come on, she just wanted to be part of the fun. OP could have ignored her. One commenter joked, next time, make her the MC, troll her again. I laughed so hard reading the responses but firmly sided with OP. Aunt N, you reap what you sow, OP, you're a genius. I have a theory, was Aunt N just entitled, or did she feel insecure and try to make herself important? Maybe she thought, I'm the aunt, I should be the star. Or maybe she had an ego issue, no one in this family is more important than me. Which led her to cause chaos. Regardless, OP handled it flawlessly, turning Aunt N's arrogance into an unforgettable comedy show. But I do wonder, if OP had let her speak, would she have stopped? And if Uncle H hadn't stepped in, would the drama have lasted longer? Months later, Aunt N texted OP to apologize, but OP never responded. I winked at question thanks to our wedding. Q laughed, she finally stopped causing trouble. I thought, Aunt N, you lost to a wedding. And honestly? OP didn't just win, she made sure Aunt N learned her lesson. What do you think? Was OP brilliant, or was Aunt N just unlucky? Have you ever met a wedding saboteur like this? Finally, we arrive at an entitled people drama where OP faces an extremely entitled customer at their small electronics store. OP is a sales associate, the kind who works in a cramped shop, surrounded by plastic shelves full of components, the faint scent of machine oil from the repair corner, the buzzing of a ceiling fan mixed with customer complaints, and flickering fluorescent lights over a concrete floor. OP writes. A customer broke his own item and demanded a refund. When I refused, I trolled him a little, and the result? He humiliated himself. The main character of this drama is Mr. G, an arrogant customer whom OP describes as around 35 years old, hair messy like he just took off a helmet, wearing a faded denim jacket, voice grating like a broken engine, and an attitude like he's some VIP of the store. OP recounts. Mr. G broke his own item and threw a tantrum demanding a refund. I handled it, and he drowned in his own mess. OP just wanted to keep the store peaceful, but Mr. G's entitlement paved the way for a delightfully satisfying drama that had me laughing and clapping. This is a story about a customer, an electronic device, and a hilarious troll. Are you ready? Brace yourself, because Mr. G is about to make a fool of himself, and OP is going to make you cheer for the next 40 minutes. It all started on a calm Friday afternoon, with just a few customers browsing. OP recalls. I was behind the counter, a scratched-up plastic desk next to the cash register and a tangle of cables, checking inventory when Mr. G pushed the door open. He slammed a broken Bluetooth headset onto the counter and snapped, "Refund me. This thing is defective." I asked, "When did you buy it?" Mr. G frowned. "Yesterday. It doesn't work." Give me my money back. OP writes. I stood there, listening to his demand, thinking, oh, you want a refund? Let's play. Inside, I wanted to scream, Mr. G, you broke it yourself, and now you want your money back? As OP questioned him, Mr. G unknowingly set himself up for failure. I examined the headset. The casing was cracked, and the internal wiring was exposed. I asked, Sir, how did this happen? Mr. G yelled, I wore it normally. This is cheap junk. I chuckled. Sir, the wires are sticking out because of excessive force. That's not covered under warranty. Mr. G turned red. I don't care. Refund me now. I shrugged. Sir, store policy, if you break it yourself, no refund. Here's the policy in writing. Mr. G slammed his hand on the counter, knocking over a box of batteries. Get me the manager. I'm not talking to you. OP writes. Mr. G stood there yelling while I held back laughter, thinking, refund? Let's see about that. Meanwhile, Mr. T, a regular customer, around 50 years old, whispered, this guy's got a big mouth. And I was grinning, OP, you've got Mr. G floundering in his own mess. Now, things really escalated when the manager got involved. I called Mr. Q, the manager, around 40, wearing a blue polo. I explained, this guy wants a refund for a headset he broke himself. Mr. Q inspected the headset and asked, how did the wires get exposed? Mr. G shouted, I wore it. It's defective. Mr. Q chuckled. Wore it how? The casing is cracked. No refund. Mr. G jabbed a finger at me. This guy doesn't know how to sell. Fire him. I replied, Sir, I sold you a working product. You broke it. That's on you. OP writes. Mr. G froze, hands shaking. I thought, blaming me won't save you now. And I was dying of laughter. OP, you just made him shoot himself in the foot right in front of the manager. Things got even worse for Mr. G when he dug himself into an even deeper hole. He shouted, I'm suing this store. Refund me now. Mr. Q shrugged. Go ahead. The security camera recorded you buying it in perfect condition. Mr. G turned to me and hissed, you set me up. I'm never coming back. I grinned. That's fine, but next time, don't yank on your headset. In a final fit of rage, Mr. G kicked a plastic chair, snapping its leg, and yelled, this store is trash. Then, as he stormed out, he crashed into a speaker shelf, knocking everything over. OP writes. I just stood there, watching him make a spectacle of himself, thinking, you wanted a refund? Now you have a full refund, of embarrassment. Mr. T laughed, that guy's done for. And I was absolutely thrilled, OP, you just made him humiliate himself during peak business hours. With Mr. G gone, OP savored his victory. As soon as he left, my manager told me, next time, just point to the security camera first. I laughed. I just wanted to sell headsets, man. The entire team laughed and recounted the incident for days. OP writes. I told my friend about it, and they said, you trolled a customer using security footage? That's legendary. Now, I double-check anyone asking for a refund. And I applauded, OP, you turned entitlement into an artful troll. But wait, there's one last twist. A few weeks later, Mr. G came back, this time, to buy a speaker. But he was dead silent. OP writes. I gave my manager a knowing look and whispered, thanks to last time. Mr. Q chuckled, guess he learned his lesson. And I thought, Mr. G, you didn't just lose this battle, you lost the whole war. After reading this story, I have a theory, was Mr. G not just entitled, but also trying to assert power? Maybe he thought, I'm the customer, so they have to obey me. But he didn't expect OP to stand firm, or for the security footage to expose him. Or was he simply overconfident? Like, I broke it, but they have to refund me anyway. Maybe he even kicked the chair just to save face, only to humiliate himself further. Either way, OP handled it brilliantly, not only enforcing store policy but turning Mr. G's arrogance into a legendary joke. But I wonder, if there had been no security camera, would Mr. G have backed down? And if Mr. Q hadn't stepped in, would the drama have lasted even longer? So, what do you think? Was OP a genius, or was Mr. G just pitiful? Have you ever dealt with an entitled customer like this before? Let me know in the comments, I'm curious. And that's it for today's stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed yet, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on more wild stories. And if you missed our last episode about toxic compliance where evil bosses got totally destroyed, check it out now. See you in the next one. We love you all.